We always get tons of positive feedback of this individual, what he does, for the communities, what he does on his free time when he doesn't need to be helping. He's always out there helping, right? And that's just the, shows, the type of person he is, the type of person that, we have on this platform being provided for you guys as, members, as, students, all that and more. So, for me, I have the honor to introduce, Rich, who's on here with me, who's we're gonna kind of be diving deep into, what he does, his experience, everything he goes over on, in his trading sessions, his education, where to get access to all that, where to find him, how to connect with him, all that and more. And so, first I just want to introduce Rich and give Rich the spotlight here and let him kind of go into, a little bit of his trading experience, a little bit of his journey, how he got here. And then we can lead all this into more of the Akashx stuff. But Rich, thanks for hopping on, man. Like I said, I know it's Friday night, bro, but you're here, giving back to the community, so we really appreciate it.
All right, what's good, Akash's family? If you guys are excited for some value on a Friday night, let's go ahead and light up the chat box. First and foremost, I want to give a major shout out to Mike, Joey, all the leaders that put together this new and improved schedule. Obviously, we just kind of relaunched the brand. Being able to have our own standalone company is something we always envisioned from day one when we were literally here with zero customers, guys, zero members. And so to see that come full circle is super dope. And yeah, just honored to be the first educator that is spotlighted in this new system. And I just want to say, man, all of you guys that are here on a Friday night are absolutely crazy. I mean, who gets on calls on a Friday night? But that's why you guys are meant to make crazy money. You got to be crazy to make crazy money. So I appreciate you guys for always wanting to tap in and always doing that extra little bit to just get that one nugget, that one piece of information that could really change the rest of your life, improve your trading results, make you flip the switch that just helps you go crazy these next, couple months left of the year and heading into 2026. So again, guys, appreciate y'all. And yes, for those who don't know me, my name is Rich Vandega. I am 20, well, actually, I was gonna say 29 years old. I just turned 30 about a month ago. And I've been here in Akashx since day one. It's been a couple years now, and it looks nothing. I tell you, nothing like it used to when we first started. And I mean that in a great way. You guys have access to so many tools, so much tech, a super clean back office. I mean, we just literally keep getting better and better. And guys, I've been a part of the trading space since 2018, so about 7 years in the game. And I actually was in your exact same shoes when I first started. I was a member of a trading MLM platform. Some people have different journeys, whether they get started for free on YouTube, maybe they just kind of heard about it from a friend and tried it for a while. But all of us, we get started here in these environments where, we're on these training calls and there's so many educators and so many things to do. And so we just wanted to create these calls so you guys can really start to get to know the people that we look up to, right? Like all the educators, all the leaders. We want you guys to feel unified. We want you to feel like we got your back. That's what this is all about. So for those who don't know me, hopefully this inspires you to tap into some of the stuff that I put out there that you never know. Again, you might just take one thing away from me that completely changes your trading, your mentality, whatever it is that helps you get to your next level. So I think that's a good little intro as we kick off this call. But I really do appreciate Mike as well. This is somebody that's working behind the scenes. Maybe you guys haven't heard a lot from on these calls, but he is absolutely a huge driving force in making this brand what it is today. So let's make sure we can give some love to Mike as well for taking the time to host this and do this Q&A with me. So yeah, man, excited to get into it, bro.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the shout out. But obviously we always look at this. This is it's a team effort. This whole machine does not operate without everybody who pushes it and who moves the needle. So, I'm just glad to be a part of it, happy to be a part of it. But yeah, I want to definitely dive into some of your trading, some of your trading background, some of your trading experience. I know you had said, you've been trading, you got involved in this space 7 years ago. But I think it's important kind of for everyone who's on here, right? For them to understand like we don't just put anybody on the platform. Obviously, especially like as I've been involved, we do a vetting process, and it's not only just about your trading. It's also about your passion for teaching. And so I think it's important for you to kind of go into a little bit of not, maybe not only your trading journey, and how long, maybe explain like how long it took you to kind of start seeing success and what it took you to get there, but also then maybe transition and let them know like how long you've been teaching, right? And what kind of drives you to want to go out there and help that next person. Like what sparks that passion? Because what I can say, from my experiences working with you is like Rich is always willing to help. Anything he needs, it goes out of his scope of what he's responsible for. He's always the first one to be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll tag in, all help, whether it's with the company, with community members, whatever it is. And, I really respect that a lot. And I think it just shows for what's being built here in the culture. So maybe if you want to dive in a little bit there, Rich, and we can kind of keep this thing going.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a great place to start for this call. And like I mentioned, guys, I know what it's like to be in your exact same shoes, which is why, I love being an educator here because, sometimes people they come from different backgrounds and they may not really fully understand how to take you from where you're exactly at to where you want to go, right? Some people, again, they have way different backgrounds of how they got into trading and how they developed as an educator. But being somebody that was coming in from a Starbucks meeting where they show you a comp plan, they show you a monthly price, they show you live sessions, trade alerts. Like I literally lived the day one experience of exactly what you guys did coming in. And who was I tapping into? None other than Mr. Matthew Pibbs, Matthew Thayer. And so this is the most inspirational thing I can tell all of you here today is that I was somebody who could not read a chart for the life of me. I literally was waiting for Matty Pips to stream at 10, 11 p.m. Eastern because if it wasn't for him, there was no way I was going to make a profit that day. Like I needed to see that guy go live. I needed to see him call out a trade with his strategy. And I did the same thing with my teams. So, again, I really just came in and I knew that the quickest way for me to make some type of income was for me to follow experts, right? I think a lot of people they want to be the hero day one. And I'm somebody that preaches learning the skill. I do talk about it all the time. If you guys follow me, I'm all about helping you guys become more and more self-sufficient over time. However, you got to be smart, right? You guys are investing into this platform, utilize it. Tap to trade, trade alerts, live sessions, and even not even just myself, but the array of different educators at different times. Like we got to find what works for you. And so that's what I did. I came in and I didn't really start learning until about 2 years into my journey. I spent the first 2 years involved in trading, just leveraging other experts, right? And a big part of that was because I worked a full-time job. I come from banking, and in the bank, I would open and close the bank, because something about me is that I've always wanted to do more than what I was asked. I just feel like that's a big thing that if you guys want to take away characteristics that really help you get ahead, it's be a servant. Like if you guys want to be pushed forward, people will pull you up, but you got to go out of your way and help people. So I used to do that at the bank. I'd get there early. I'd do as many tasks as I could to help my manager. So I would be there from 7 a.m. to like 6 p.m., like literally sun up to sundown, drive home about an hour in Miami traffic, and the first thing I would do is drive to a university called FIU out here in Florida. And I would go to these meetings and sit through a presentation that I heard 100 different times. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to learn how these guys were presenting the information. And then after that, we'd start trading at like 10 p.m. with Maddie, and we'd, be in and out with the bag, as he would say, in a couple of trades. And man, our day would wrap up at 11, 11:30. So literally I grinded for the first 2 years leveraging him and just being smart, right? Just using the tools, using the live sessions, and then building a community around that. And that was really what helped me start developing, that residual income from the network marketing side while I gave myself the grace to learn the skill at my own pace. And I think that's really what people got to understand, man, is you got to give yourself some time to learn one of the hardest skills in the world, but you can absolutely leverage educators and build a business all at the same time to make you some money while you're learning. So that's really how the journey started. And so it really wasn't about 2 years into the journey in 2020 when, COVID happened and I didn't have to work. I was literally paid leave from the bank for a long time. And I took that time to really study smart money concepts, which is still what I teach to this day. You know, fair value gaps, liquidity, all the stuff I talk about on my sessions. But that didn't come until 2 years into my journey. So for all the people that are here in your first week, first 30 days, 90 days, first year, just understand that you don't have to move mountains tomorrow. Just do a little bit every day and just find a way to move the needle forward as much as you can. And trust me, these 7 years flew by and they'll fly by for you as well. And what's gonna matter is the habits you built and the little things you did every day that compound. So that's kind of how it started.
Man. Well, man, you said a lot there, Rich, and like a lot of value had dropped. And so there's a few things I definitely want to kind of play off of and touch on. And one was again, like, you just talking about your commitment, your process, right? And how much you dedicated to learning the skill set and what, how that helped you. And then leveraging, and you mentioned how you were able to leverage different things that were going on, other trading sessions, other traders, right? And that's what's so beautiful, like about Akashx and about people being able to plug in with you, especially how you break it down and whatnot, is you guys can take all that information and mold it yourself and expedite your learning curve, right? And that's what's so cool about a community here. What we have, and we have people like Rich, is you guys can start out of the gate with getting the proper information because there's so much information out there, and it can be confusing, it can be conflicting, right? All that and more. And so again, the beautiful thing we have here with the Akashx is you guys can, learn and leverage from people who've already went through a lot of that stuff. You don't necessarily have to put in all the amount of hours Rich did to learn to get to where he is because he's taken all that time and he's condensed into what works for him and what he's seen results with, and then pass that on to the next person, right? And so there's a lot of value there. Um, and again, too, I see obviously the shirt you're wearing, Liberty, right? Everyone talks about the Liberty strategy. And so, that's what Rich has been able to, formulate for himself that works phenomenally. And I saw actually in the chat as you were talking, somebody talking about they made $3,000 off your live trading this
Oh yeah, I didn't
you
even see
know,
that.
this month, man. So it's like it's
Let's
stuff like
go.
that it's just incredible to see. And like, again, someone can come in and obviously that's maybe not an everyday thing, but someone can come in and apply what they're learning, trading right alongside you and see the rewards. And then, again, be able to like, man, if I can, continue to learn and continue to, grow in this space, that can be a more of a regular occurrence when it comes to the consistency level.
Yeah.
So, amazing. I think what would be awesome, Rich, is talking about the Liberty strategy, talking about your sessions. Maybe we give everybody a little sneak peek of kind of like what you look at on the charts. I don't know if you mind
Yeah.
going into it a little bit, but
Yeah.
it wasn't too expected in the sense of, but maybe you can kind of give everyone on here like, hey, man, this is how, in a simple way so they can see like because I think the big, most intimidating part of like trading is like you pull up the charts, you see all this stuff, and it's just like, man, where do I start? You see the candlesticks, you see the movements in price. It's like, but I've tuned into some of your sessions, I've seen your videos, obviously, and you do a phenomenal job of breaking it down and kind of simplifying it for that and make it easy on the eye. So maybe you can kind of give us a little sneak into that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So for those who again have been following me for a while, I do trade a proprietary strategy. I kind of, created about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, and we've consistently tweaked it little by little to just make it as accurate as possible, as clear to understand as possible, as duplicatable as possible. And I'm actually excited because for those that have been on the sessions and stuff, we've kind of introduced a couple of new concepts and stuff. So I have what's basically a new rebranded strategy that I can basically share on here that's very super easy. I'm not going to get into anything super technical. I want to just give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of it, what it can do for you, some of the testimonials, and basically where to go after this call for the pre-recorded content, recorded live sessions, and all that for you to take that time to dive into the details because we all know trading can get very detailed. So guys, I created something new here that, again, if you guys are tapped into me, you guys kind of know the deal. But some of you have never heard of this. It's called Liberty X. All right. So this is something that I have started to introduce little by little to the community over the past couple of weeks, but we're really going to triple down on it. And it's very, very powerful, very simple. And guys, look, the biggest thing with learning any strategy is we need to have clarity, right? The number one thing that makes it really hard to trade at the beginning for somebody is that they don't know what they're looking at. right? They don't know, what's the checklist for me to go through before I hit buy? What's the checklist that I go through before I hit sell? And so we can learn certain topics that you've heard from not just me, but maybe other educators. I know people like, man, I don't even want to start naming names because I don't want to miss anybody's names, but a lot of educators, we use similar things, right? We use similar things like fair value gaps or imbalances. We use similar terminology like maybe supply and demand zones or whatever the case is. So that can get very detailed, a little bit complicated, especially for newer people. So I created this, strategy that gives us an exact time of the day with three exact, basically confirmations that you're gonna wait for before you jump into a trade. And so it's gonna make it very clear for you which trades to take. So basically, guys, what I trade is something called NASDAQ. And I'm gonna just really quickly just scroll through here. And after this call, I'm gonna drop this PDF in the Akashx chats on my section, so you guys can go and download this. So it's gonna be a great resource for you guys to have.
Yeah,
But essentially,
Rich,
what
real
we're
quick.
trading again,
I don't know if
yeah,
you
what's
mind.
up?
Is there any way you can make it just a little bigger, just for everybody to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't mean
Okay,
to
so
cut you off.
no, no, it's all good. I was kind of wondering if it was visible or not. So, guys, I trade NASDAQ, and basically, this is something you guys have been seeing other great traders trade. I know Mateo has been doing really, really well. So shout out to Mateo, man. New great educator on board. He's been trading NAS. We got Preston crushing it with US 30. So the indices market is something that's very aggressive, very fast moving. But for me, the reason why I trade it, guys, and the reason why we push it so much is because I wanted to get into trading to create more freedom for myself, not less. And the good and bad of trading is that there's always opportunity. Now, why do I say good and bad? Because it's great because you can make money around the clock. That's very attractive to know we could do that. But at the same time, that also makes you kind of want to get glued to your computer, glued to your phone. I'm sure some of you guys have become social distance from your loved ones because you're like, yo, I'm on the charts all day. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to create a work day for myself because look, at the end of the day, guys, trading, it is a job, right? It's a job because you have to take action to make money. All right. You have to get on there. You have to press the button. You got to manage yourself. So it's a great job, a very high paying job if you get it right, but it is a job. And so what I wanted to do is like, I want to be a lazy worker. Like I want to do as little as possible and make as much as possible. So instead of me looking at the charts around the clock, basically we're gonna literally wait till 10 a.m. Eastern time. Now, you guys can do the time zone conversions for yourself, but essentially the reason why we do this, guys, is because I would say 80 to 90% of the news events that happen before 9:30. Usually it's about at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And then at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, you also have the market open, which usually creates a lot of crazy spiking. Again, for people that are a little bit newer or haven't traded indices, you might not know that, right? So we teach that. But for those that know, especially if you're trading funded accounts, some of your accounts you're not allowed to trade news, things of that nature. So waiting for 10 a.m. basically allows a lot of stuff to wash out that doesn't basically, wick our stop loss and then fly the other way. So long story short, guys, these are, some of the confirmations for the trade where we basically wait for 10 a.m. to open in the market. And then there's three confirmations. It's looking at the previous 4 hour candle. Are we above Asia high, Asia low? And are we above the VWAP, which is that little line? Again, I'm not going to get too technical. We talk about this on the live sessions. You're going to get the PDF. You can watch the pre-recorded content and learn all about this stuff. But basically, it's those three confirmations, and then we take a trade. Now, again, these are, models of past setups that are here. I also show you guys how to put the indicators on your chart so you guys can have it. But to give you a little bit of a sense, these are the last three trades, and these were all shared on live sessions. We had this buy from Wednesday here, so whoever was on my live session on Wednesday knows that we took that one live together. And these other ones were shared on the traders chat. We have that funded traders chat that we created coming out of the boot camp. So basically, 3 days in a row, this strategy has hit for very clean entries, very good risk to rewards, and just like any other strategy, guys, we're not going to win every single trade. We're not going to win all the time. But over the past like month or two of using this strategy, if you start to understand what to look for and you actually go in your charts and back test it, it's very powerful. So all that is to say, guys, because you're probably like, I don't even know what you just taught me, right? is we want to create a system that you guys are going to be able to do every single day. I think it's very refreshing for me to know that I know at 10 a.m. is basically the start of that potential trade. It's usually within the first half an hour from like 10 to 10:30. We're going to get the confirmations for a trade and we're going to enter it. And the great part is I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during that time. So you're going to be able to see me on the session, actually see the strategy unfold in real time with you guys. And so that's the goal. Again, this is something that I just kind of put together over the past couple weeks, and we're gonna like triple down on it, make it a really cool thing in the culture. But even before this strategy, I mean, we have so many testimonials of people, utilizing our partners in TradeX and even other firms that have made, three-figure payouts, four-figure payouts, and I've had about two, three students that have pulled out a five-figure payout in a month from trading just Nasdaq with the strategy. So really, man, the separator, guys, is making the decision, right? Making the decision to stick to something. Sometimes people have different accounts for different educators or whatever the case may be, but if you want to get really good at trading, you got to think about the 80-20 principle, right? 80% of your money or results or positive things come from 20% of the stuff you do. So you don't need to trade a lot. You don't need to trade a lot of strategies, a lot of positions. You just need one strategy, one time frame, and one asset class. And if you just master that, it's gonna take you so far compared to like trading 20 different pairs, 20 different strategies, and kind of being all over the place. So that's my number one thing, man. I try to create a way to trade for everybody that we can basically trade for like an hour or two a day, and then we're done. And we can actually go and enjoy time with family, build our businesses, get on social media, live our lives. I think that's really what trading should be like. And yeah, I think we have a good way to do that we're going to continue to showcase over the next years. So,
No. Absolutely, absolutely. No, and you as well, you touched on a lot of good things there, like a lot of good nuggets, a lot of good topics. And obviously, everything you displayed is phenomenal and excited for you to get that out. I'm sure everybody wants to get their hands on that. But I think a few
yeah.
things that you had kind of touched on in a sense that I really like to drive home when I talk to people about trading as well is, you had said like there's pros and cons. Like there's the opportunity with the market where you can be trading all the time. But at the same time, and you probably agree with me on this, like being in the space for a long time, sometimes less is more in the trading space. And with that is like the discipline that comes. And that's something that doesn't get talked about because we talk about the strategies, we talk about how much money you can make, this then the opportunities, right? But the discipline behind it, because I'm sure a lot of people, maybe if you're newer or if you've been trading for a long time, you're going to relate to this, is like you will have a great day or a great week and you're trading and you made a substantial amount of like return on your account, and you get sucked back in, and then you end up giving that money back to the markets, right? Or something
Mhm.
happens and you have, and what I really like about what you showed and what you displayed and what you preach on your sessions is like you follow your rules, right? And like trading is really about following rules. Like you have your strategy, and your strategy isn't just about how the charts look, it also is how you execute and how you approach, right? You execute and you exit. And I think that gets overlooked, or not necessarily overlooked, but people get excited, right? Especially if you're newer,
Yeah.
and we get that. But a big thing with trading for like long-term sustainable success is being able to stick to those rules. If something doesn't go your way, that you lose the trade,
Mhm.
that's a part of it, right? Like it's
Yeah.
if there was something out there that where you could win every single trade, like we'd all be, like filthy rich. You know what I
Let me
mean?
know
Like
where it's at.
like exactly. So it's not the case, but that's what makes trading, difficult
Hmm.
for people, is understanding that, it's about the probabilities, it's about finding the high probable setups, following your rules, executing regardless of what happens, and following your rules, and then going to the next one. And
Yeah.
like that's why I love what you just said. You trade certain time, you have your certain setups, and that's it, and then it's on to the
Hmm.
next, right? And I think if that's something that we, obviously you talk about it, a lot of our traders talk about it, but
Yeah.
just again for people to understand, they'll go like a lot farther, just like understanding that from
Yeah.
the beginning.
And I want to add to it so that people actually get a practical understanding of how that actually manifests. Because sometimes, people will hear this thing that sounds like great advice, but then they're like, I don't know how to put that into practice. Like it sounds good, but how can I do that approach and actually make a certain amount of money or see a certain amount of success? And look, this mindset, guys, just comes from personal experience of seeing what it's like to work yourself to the ground. And it's directly from like my own family, right? So my dad is like the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. Literally, like since I was a little kid, he's worked two jobs. One of them is his own business, and then he'd work UPS at night. So he'd work from like 9 a.m. to like 10 p.m. at night every day, Monday through Saturday. So I grew up with the example of like working really hard. But you know what I realized, and this is something that we learn from people like Robert Kiyosaki and these great investors that talk about people going from like employed to self-employed to business owner to investor, right? If you guys have heard of the cash flow quadrant. And man, I think the scariest thing in life, guys, is to find a way that you make money, but like basically people find a way to make money, but they found a way to do it where they're working really hard, and it gets to a point where it's like, can I ever stop working this hard and make as much money? Like it's a trap, So I seen this guy work two jobs my whole life, but his stuff is manual labor. And at some point, you get to an age where it's like, do I want to keep doing landscaping till I'm 70, 80? Like when does it stop? Because when it stops, the money stops. And I say, how does this relate to trading? Because if you guys get into the habit of taking 20 trades a day, it's very exciting now if you're in your first month or first year. How long are you gonna want to keep that up for? And so if your only way of understanding how to make money in trading is to be an animal all day on the charts, like finding 100 trades, it's just not sustainable in my opinion long term. So with that thinking, it's like, how can I find a way now to do a little bit and make a lot so that I can do that for a really long time? And it comes back down to the one session, one time frame, all this, right? And look, guys, you have a very unique opportunity of something called leverage, right? When we started trading years ago, there wasn't prop firms. There wasn't access to capital. There wasn't these ways to do it. So people wonder like why didn't you learn trading your first 2 years? Why did you focus so much on network marketing? It's because, dude, I didn't have money to trade. Like what was I was gonna trade $50, $100. It's not easy to flip that money, and it's not really realistic.
Yeah.
So you guys have a great opportunity by having residual income come in from building the compensation plan. And even if you don't want to do that, cool. Get at least a free membership and invest that 150 bucks, 180 bucks into prop firms. Scale your way through TradeX and firms. Use those payouts because the reason why you see people in the chats casually like, oh yeah, I made 3,000 in October. Guys, in 2018, if somebody said that, we'd put them on the call right now and be like, how'd you do it? Because it was such an anomaly for people to actually make money 5, 6, 7 years ago. And all the leaders here, they know what I'm talking about. But it's gotten to the point where we drop dozens of payouts every week from the community of 4 figures plus that we've gotten desensitized to how crazy that really is. So I just want to say that you guys have a great ecosystem, man. You guys have a great environment to touch money very quickly that years ago was unheard of in the trading space for the average person. But again, you want to try to think about how to do that in a sustainable way where you don't burn yourself out in the long run. So that's what we try to teach. But you guys have everything you need, man. It's just a matter of locking in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think yeah, everything you kind of touched on, like all of the different like services and resources and different opportunities out there, like you said, it's definitely a new age, nowadays in the trading space like that. If you were here, like you said, 5, 10 years ago, I mean, it's just completely different landscape, and it definitely gives people the opportunity to leverage more.
Mhm.
But with that being said, like even here in Akashx, right, we have like different services you can tap into, and when it comes to like the tap to trade and different things like that. But I really also don't want to take away from like the value is like, yes, all that stuff is great, but really like the value that has to be the foundational level is the education. Because like
Oh
even
yeah.
with like following the trade alerts, the trade signals, or following the tap to trades, like we see it over and over again. Like you can have like successful trades being sent out, but doesn't necessarily mean the person on the receiving end is going to get the same result, because like there's a
Mhm.
psychological aspect. There's even just the fact of being able to look at the chart and have an idea and a sense of what's going on with market structure. Like you don't have to know everything, but having like that base foundation
Yep.
that goes so far with just being able to leverage those services, right? Like we talk about the
You're
prop firms.
preaching to the choir right now, man.
Yeah. So it's like, like you talked about, the prop firms and, all the prop firm opportunities out there for people to be able to leverage more money. It's like that's
Mhm.
great. But if you don't at least come in and take advantage of like what like Rich is doing or some of the other educators, like you're robbing yourself of money at the end of the day. Because like
Yeah.
just getting that, hopping on the sessions a few times a week and like taking some notes and like just, not even going super crazy of like what like someone like Rich did in the past, but just really trying to like understand, hey, if I look at a chart and I can understand like the market structure and I have an idea of okay, how this is looking, again, all those other things are going to be so much more fruitful for you, right? And I think like that's something we we want to drive home with these calls and have people understand because again, they have it at their disposal. Not only just like the sessions, like you guys have the opportunity to speak like directly to him and his taught in his his channels. He's very engaging, very interactive, and most of our educators are like they're here to help. That's why
Yeah.
they're on our platform, right? They want to help you guys. So it's like take advantage of that, get excited, but don't get too excited to the point where we're just like with all the services and all like these, um things that are being thrown out there to like skip the actual educational part because that's going to set the foundation for everything else. You know what I mean? So again,
Mhm.
I think this was great. I think, Rich, obviously, man, it's been great having you on. I know you spoke about when you do your sessions, but maybe just for everybody, we can just kind of show them how to tap in, So like your
Yeah,
next one, when your
100%.
next one is, they can make sure they join or find your recordings. Maybe they can't make that time, at least they can
Mhm.
see, they can go review it on their own time and at least kind of see what they're missing out on.
Yeah, 100%. We'll run through that super fast here, guys. So I'm going to share my screen here. And basically, this is the roadmap as far as connecting with me that you'd want to take. All right. Now look, again, I was somebody that was part of a platform. I worked a full-time job. I literally could never connect to a live money making session in the mornings. And that was always super frustrating because I'm like, man, like I want to make money with these guys. So I know not everybody can get um to what's it called? Be able to attend live sessions to make money in real time. But really, the biggest thing is just making sure that you find a schedule that works for you and a flow that works for you. So I was somebody personally that would utilize replays heavy. So I'm gonna show you how to do that as well. And then also, guys, you got to understand when it comes to Akashx, this is a team, right? And if you think about this like a football team, right? There's the quarterback, there's the defense, there's the kickers. And so you gotta know who to utilize for what, and I just try to be as transparent as possible. Guys, look, there's so many exciting traders like Joel, Arabella, Preston, people that are sending out so many damn trades. I don't know how they do it. Like that's their style, and maybe that's what excites you, and that's great. So that's what you want to utilize, for example, them for. And I want to say that because, like, when it comes to me, right? I'm the guy that you're gonna probably go to if you wanna like really learn and get very analytical about like why the markets do what they do, how to form, the right mindset, how to create like a plan to follow, or what I'm saying, just like how to become a little bit more self-sufficient or just build like the right type of mindset to trade on your own over time. So you gotta know who to go to for what, all right? And so that's what I would say is like what I bring to the table a little bit is just really kind of explaining things pretty thoroughly for you to understand. So with that said, guys, when you start, you can see there's an academy section and there's the beginner course, of course, which maybe you guys have already seen. And I actually have some of those videos done by me. So you'll probably see like literally the first one. Yep, it's me right there. So you guys will see some of my stuff from the Akashx Basics that's on there. But I want to kind of focus on like the educator training series portion because this is where I actually teach the strategy and like how I really trade in depth. So when you go to educator series, you'll find my profile here. And then basically when you hit start now, you will see there's basics, smart money concepts, and then the Liberty strategies right here. Now, heading into a new year, I'll probably redo some of this stuff, especially with the new Liberty X strategy. We'll probably want to incorporate that into the pre-recorded content. So always be on the lookout, not just from myself, but other educators when they want to like, update a new strategy or some of their core stuff. The educator training series is probably the most slept on thing that you guys may not be utilizing. And this is what will allow you to adapt to my live sessions very quickly because if you go through these videos, you'll know what I'm looking for. So when we're on the sessions, it's not like, wait, what are we doing? It's like, oh no, I know what he's looking for. Now we're actually just seeing it play out in real time. And I think that's very helpful. So that's the academy section. The live sessions, as I mentioned earlier, I do 4 sessions. One of them is in Spanish, which is Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you're bilingual or you have a Spanish team, you can plug them into that. Obviously, you could tap into it and just at least look at my charts if you like. Always welcome to do that. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays is when I do English at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right. So again, 4 days a week, one in Spanish, three in English. So you guys will be able to, tap in during New York session for that. And then again, you have the replays. Now, I know some of you guys have been, asking about the replays from the last like week. Obviously, we've transitioned into the new back office and everything. So there's some pre-recorded stuff replay wise that is not, migrated yet. So just be patient with us and tech as we start to upload those session replays over the last like week plus. They will eventually populate on there. But yeah, guys, on the sessions, we'll look for our strategy to play out. Sometimes we do call live trades. I've been calling out more live trades recently in the past like couple weeks, to be honest, more than trade alerts. I'm sure some of you guys have noticed. And yeah, we'll fluctuate like that. If we don't see a setup on there, I will always at minimum review prior days, give an outlook for what I expect in the future, do Q&A with you guys to help you with certain things that you need help with. So that's kind of the dynamic on the sessions. So guys, you know the time now. When to plug in with me, you know where to find my videos. Obviously, the last thing is just the Telegram chats, right? We have the Akashx official Telegram chat with all the subsections of the different educators. So you guys can find my tab on there. I do open the discussion on there from time to time. But yeah, I always keep you guys updated usually with like what I expect to happen for the day before the session and everything like that. So other than that, man, you guys can always feel free to message me. Obviously, sometimes I get swamped with a bunch of messages, but I always try to get back to everybody and at least point you in the right direction. But definitely the live sessions, we can go super in depth with whatever stuff you guys have on your mind. So yeah, man, that's really it.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, yeah, I think that was great. Rich, definitely appreciate you hopping on, man, and just dropping all that value to the community. You guys definitely go and plug in with Rich, all right? Like I said, man, he's one of the best we got. He really cares about making a difference with everybody. So, and I mean, honestly, you could take my word, or you can just look in the chat of everybody that's been supporting you and everything they're saying about Rich in the chat.
I know
So
we didn't even really get into testimonials, but we had somebody say it in the chat for us without us asking. So I mean, it kind of just read in between the lines, guys. That's
yeah,
all
yeah,
we'll
no, I
say.
mean there was multiple men just shouting you out in the chat about, closing winning trades and all that. So, that's just exactly what you're creating here, man. We love it. We appreciate it. We appreciate everybody, all you guys hopping on, like I said, Friday night. We know there's a lot of options out there for Friday nights, but you guys are here,
Oh yeah.
so definitely appreciate it. Everybody enjoy your weekend, be safe, and we will see you guys on the next one.